Hello everyone, welcome to the first interview for English English. I'm Ross, the founder and creator of English English, and it's currently its only English teacher. Maybe there'll be more in the future. Hero isn't here with us today. She's hiding under a bed asleep because it's very hot. But today I have someone else with me, my first interviewee. Could you please introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Jamie. I live in Cornwall at the moment, but I'm from Bournemouth.
In England, right?
England, yes.
British lad. Can you tell our audience how you know me? What's our relationship?
I went to university and studied with Ross, and I also used to live with him. I've known him for about, what should we say? We'll say about 8 years.
Too long. We've known each other for too long. Cool, perfect. Yeah, so as I said, Jamie's my first interviewee. The idea behind this series is for you as English students to have the opportunity to hear different English and English-speaking accents. So today we're going to look at the southwest of England, where Jamie is from. And as you can probably tell already, his accent's a tiny bit different from mine because of where he grew up. So I have a few questions for Jamie today about where he's from, where he lives, and also just a few questions about him as well. So let's get started. So Jamie, can you tell our audience, what do you do?
So I work at a university in a place called Falmouth, and I'm one of the technicians in photography. So I help the students to complete their projects and help run the building and make sure everything's working.
Perfect. So do you enjoy your job?
Yeah, I do really enjoy it. It's fun to work with students, and there's always something new to do.
Perfect. Cool. So, sorry, how long have you been doing that job?
I've been working there since 2012, so that is 6 years.
Oh, so yeah, you were working there whilst we were at university there, right?
Yeah, I started in my second year.
Cool. Okay, so can you tell us about some of your hobbies and stuff you do in your free time? What do you like to do?
Love going in the sea. I love going snorkeling and try and go spearfishing to catch the odd fish that we actually see. And where I work in photography, I love taking photos. And then as of next week, we're going to have a little puppy, which one day Hero will come and play with. And so we're going to spend a lot of time out walking. Where we live, there's lots of countryside. So we're going to take the dog out as much as we can.
Perfect. So you said you like to do spearfishing. Can you explain to our English students what is spearfishing?
So spearfishing is where you go snorkeling, and when you see a fish, you've got this spear gun that's got a big, almost elastic band on it, and you dive under the water to where the fish is, and you shoot it with the spear, and then you take it home and you eat it.
Yeah, so very fun sport. Is it dangerous at all?
No, not too dangerous, as long as you're sensible.
Okay, so Jamie, can you tell me, what are your goals for the future?
Aspirations, what are they? So I am looking to do some teaching courses soon. I've applied to do one that will allow me to teach within the university. And so I'm going to be doing that over the next year. And then I'm not too sure what I plan to do from there. Hopefully with the teaching, I'll find out what I'd like to do.
Yeah.
We would like to go travelling and see some other parts of the world. We live in a little bubble down here in Cornwall. But yeah, no, I'm not too sure. I don't like to plan things too far in advance.
Okay, well that sounds good. Yeah, and so you would be teaching photography, did you say?
Yeah.
So next, can you tell me, what English phrase do you use most often?
I think I'll go with ideal. It's quite like a Cornish way of answering things.
Yeah, it's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah. If someone tells you something they've been doing, and you can just answer with, "Oh, ideal."
And so, like, what does that mean if you answer that way? So, for example, I said, "Oh yeah, I'm getting off work early tonight if you want to go to the pub.
And they'll go, oh, ideal. It's kind of saying, yeah, that's really good. That's what you want, kind of thing. It's a positive.
Yeah, it's kind of like perfect for me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool. That's a good one. How about what accents from English-speaking countries do you find most difficult to understand?
I'll go with Scottish.
Scottish. Why?
There's a lot of different Scottish accents as well, which makes it even harder.
Yeah.
But I struggle with some Scottish accents.
Yeah, I suppose like from certain areas as well, they're very strong as well. It's difficult for. It's weird because it's difficult for English-speaking people to understand them, let alone people who don't actually or who are learning English. It must be quite difficult.
Yeah. Definitely.
Anyone else? So Scottish.
Or thick Irish ones as well. They always sound similar to Scottish ones if they're from certain areas. They're just as hard to wade your way through.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's interesting because there's certain cities or regions where it's like it's not too bad. But yeah, I used to work with a few Irish teachers and a few Scottish teachers as well. But they were from certain areas where it's not too thick. But yeah, you go to a certain part of Ireland or Scotland, you're like, I don't understand anything. Especially when they're drunk as well, it makes them a lot more difficult.
Yeah.
So, can you think of maybe something interesting about where you live right now? So, something interesting about Falmouth or Cornwall?
Something interesting. So, at the end of Cornwall, the internet backbone, which is like the main connection between England and America is. So there's this tiny little hut on the tip of Cornwall that connects England to America.
Yeah.
And that's where all of the internet traffic goes through.
Really?
To go in England and America.
I didn't know that.
And there's a cable that runs under the sea all the way over to America.
Oh. Yeah, we used to have the same thing in Vietnam, but every now and again sharks would come and bite it, and then no one would have the internet for a while. It's very frustrating. I didn't know that. That's interesting. Cool. How about like a famous food or like a popular local cuisine from Cornwall? Can you think of one?
Yeah. The traditional Cornish pasty.
Cornish pasty. What is a Cornish pasty? Because I actually think a lot of Americans their brains could just not comprehend a pasty.
So it's kind of like a pie, but it's shaped like a semicircle. And has a crust going around the curved edge that you're supposed to use as a handle, which comes from when the miners in Cornwall used to eat pasties for their lunch, and they could use that handle to stop their food getting dirty.
Ah, it's weird, isn't it?
The elaborate dish that this is creating.
What kind of what do they have inside the pasty?
So they have potatoes and some other vegetables like potatoes, so carrots and swede, and some beef.
Oh. God, I love a good pasty.
Oh, good strong pasty.
Okay, so we've just got a couple more questions. Next, is there any sort of or are there any words in the English language, any sort of slang or phrases that annoys you? It's maybe used too often, or it's just the pronunciation is just irritating, or maybe it just sounds terrible. What do you think?
For people mine and Ross's age, it became like a strange sort of pause word when you were trying to think to use like, or it kind of, instead of using and, people used like.
Yeah.
it sounds so wrong in a sentence structure. I'm trying to even think of a sentence that I could use it in, but it's
it's used so commonly. Like when you say like, it's like kind of annoying.
I was like doing this like yesterday.
Yeah, it's like a connector, isn't it? Like we use it far too often, and eventually it was put into the dictionary, which is quite funny. Happened with a few words, like, lol. Well, that's correct, I guess. Giving an example using like, but that's a good example. A lot of people say it. My parents used to complain about it a lot. How about yours?
Yeah, all the time. Like all the time.
I think it's used less often now by younger generations. I think it was our generation that used it too much. I don't think I use it too often now, but when I'm not thinking consciously, I hear myself. Well, actually, when I think about it consciously, I hear myself saying it sometimes, and it's very frustrating. That's a good example. Cool. Couple more questions. Can you think of a weird word in the English language, or like a weird phrase? Maybe you don't understand where it came from because literally, it's quite weird when you hear it, or maybe the pronunciation is very weird, it's very different, or the spelling, or something about it's just strange.
I mean, phrases. We have lots of strange phrases in England. We'll go for. She's got a bun in the oven.
Yes, that's a good one. What does that mean? She's got a bun in the oven.
Bun in the oven. That's something that we say when somebody's pregnant. Which where that came from, I don't have a clue.
I guess it kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Like a bun.
Yeah.
Oh, what can you kind of explain it to someone who doesn't know what it means literally? Could you explain it?
What
So I suppose it's like if you're baking bread in England, a small piece of bread we'd call a bun, or I guess in some places you'd be like a kind of cake. You put it in the oven and you put the dough in the oven, and the dough will rise, as we say, so it kind of grows like a baby, I guess. I guess it kind of makes sense, but yeah, whoever made that, it's a bit strange. I don't know if people would find that offensive nowadays, but that's a good example. That's a very good example. Cool. So I'll give you two more questions. Where is the most interesting place you have traveled to? I'm going to throw this one at you.
Cool. The most interesting place is one that I want to go back to again. I want to go to Sweden again.
Sweden. Why?
It was a really nice place. Just the people were really nice. Food's interesting. The country was beautiful. And I only saw a small part of it because I wasn't there for very long. So I'd like to go and see more of it.
Cool. Yeah, I've never been personally, but I hear it's cold. Is it a bit chilly?
No, not in the summer.
Ah, you went in the summer, yeah.
Yeah, luckily. There was no snow.
That's good. Okay, so we've got one more question for Jamie before we go. So, Jamie, what is something you can do that no one else can do? Like a skill, hobby, something else. What do you think?
I can ride a unicycle.
Unicycle. What's a unicycle?
So most people can ride bicycles, and bikes have two wheels. A unicycle has one wheel, and you sit above the wheel, and it takes a lot of practice and good balance.
So this is the sort of transportation you use to get to work every day?
Probably not. It'll take me a little while, and I think I'd get quite sore.
Yeah. A lot of balancing all the way.
Yeah. Plus, there are a lot of hills around here, and I it's not too good on hills, I don't think.
No. Yeah, you do a lot of falling off, I think. You've got very good balance. Okay, well, thank you very much, Jamie, for joining us today. That was really useful. So, for all the students who are listening, watching the video, that is an example of one of the many accents from England, and Jamie's given us a good insight to the southwest of England and some of British culture. So thank you very much, Jamie, for joining us.
No worries.
Cool. So thanks again, everyone. Next time we're going to try and find a different accent from a different part of the English-speaking world. So remember to follow us on Facebook, and if you have Instagram, to follow us on Instagram, and of course YouTube for free lessons every week. This has been Ross and Jamie. Thanks, Jamie, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.